Once again, last of three at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Twins and Royals. It'll be Cole Reagans and Taj Bradley head-to-head, the last of that series. Front Office Insights are presented by Sage. Let's talk Royals baseball right now. We welcome in the president of baseball operations for the Kansas City Royals, J.J. Picollo. J.J., it's Brian Kenny. Thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you having me on.
Great having you here. I know ballpark's beautiful. I want to talk about the dimensions. You changed some things. But the challenges, I think, are fascinating. Give me your overall view as someone involved in it and then someone also watching it on the Strike Zone Challenge system.
Well, I think it's been great. Our fans are really enjoying it. We had a night last night where there are a lot of challenges, and no doubt it adds to the entertainment value. But from a strategic standpoint, we spent a lot of time in spring training trying to decide when do we want to use our challenges. You want to be smart about it. You want to use them at the right times, and you like to think that common sense would take over. The higher the leverage is, the more likely you are to use a challenge. We've seen some cases where it wasn't quite high leverage, but our basic rule of thumb has been if there's 2 strikes, feel free to challenge, but just keep in mind what's the probability, the run probability in the moment. If the run probability is high, then we want you to challenge. We want to score a run when we can. So the later the game, the higher the leverage. So it's a little bit of common sense, but the big thing is it's a team challenge, and that's the thing we've been emphasizing. It's a team challenge, not an individual challenge.
I'm wondering now, all right, so you're in charge. Do certain guys have more of a run with that? Do you tell them, or do they just figure it out on their own? That you have certain guys that are stars. I don't even have to mention them. We know who they are. And then there's other guys who are a little lesser. Do you go over that, or do you let them figure it out?
I think we'll learn over time who's really good at it, but we give Salvi a lot of leeway. I mean, he's any catcher, and I think that's the trend we're seeing. The catchers are going to be right more often, but when you think about it, they're the only people that are not moving on the field. They're stationary. The pitchers are moving, the hitter's making move to the ball. The catcher's the one who's stationary, and he should have the best look. So we give Salvi all the leeway that he should get. And we'll learn over time which of our hitters are good at it, but we're really trying to avoid the pitchers challenging right now.
Along those lines, Salvador Perez is good at it already, and he was losing strikes. Is that because of all this time with him not getting good pitch framing numbers that he's just too large, blocking the umpire from seeing that low strike?
Very, very well could be. I mean, we've talked about that as well, and that very well could be the situation, what's happened over the years, because he is a big man. Yeah,
I can imagine him looking back. Hey, I want my pitch framing numbers redone. They were wrong. I was fine. By the way, you're 6 for 8 in challenges, only 1 batter challenge. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I think, again, that's going to be the trend line. The catchers are going to be the ones that challenge the most. But our hitters did a really good job last night because when we did challenge, it was when it was a scoring position, a runner in scoring position, or a 2-strike count. And that's really what we want. And if we do it and follow that, light guideline, we're going to be happy with the times that we challenge. But more often than not, I think we're going to see more catcher challenges than batter challenges.
Okay. JJ, you have a dynamic core with Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, who's emerging as a star now. Where do you think you are? What's your overall evaluation? You're a year removed from being in the playoffs, fell back a little bit. Where are you this year?
Yeah, we like our club. I think a lot of it comes down to health like every other team, but our starting rotation is solid. Our bullpen, we're happy with where it is. We've had a rough first week with the pen, but they're going to straighten things out. A lot of it comes down to just the production of the middle to the back part of our lineup, because the top of our lineup and then when you get to Vinny and Salvi, it's going to be, it's going to produce runs for us. So we're in a good spot, but I think we got to play good baseball. I mean, we're not a team that is going to just score 8-9 runs a game every night. We're going to have to fight and work for every run, so base running is going to be key for us, and playing good defense. It's the old adage, pitching and defense, good base running, and good situational hitting. You'll win ball games, and that's how we're built.
And here's your slugger, Jack Caglione. We talked about him last year because top prospect, rough rookie year, now off to a nice start. I'm wondering, JJ, how did you approach him after last year? Do you leave him be? Hey, he'll figure this out? Or do you get him more coaching? How did you approach it?
No, you really got to let him be. I mean, he's a smart player. He knows where he needed to improve and why he had some struggles last year, which really just came down to pitch selection. And once a guy gets enough at-bats in the major leagues, they'll get more selective. They know what they can do. They can hunt pitches, and that takes time. Some guys figure it out really quickly. Some guys it takes a number of years. But Jack's a really good hitter. He's very forgiving, and what I mean by that, he hits the ball so hard that he doesn't have to center a ball, and he's still going to get his hits. But what he's done so far, and I'm counting even spring training and the WBC, he's been very selective. He's worked some walks, and that's very encouraging from our perspective.
You brought the fences in around your park. You've only played there twice now so far. But again, you had a pitcher-friendly park. Give us your rationale.
Well, we watched a lot of games here over a lot of years, and there were many, many balls that were just hit too well to not leave our ballpark. So the goal was to find a ballpark or find distances that played fair. If you hit a ball well, you hit a ball 100 miles an hour, and it's a launch angle that it should leave the ballpark, we want those balls to be home runs because the hitters should be rewarded. At the same time, you don't want to punish the pitchers by being too small where pop-ups are going out. So our R&D department did a tremendous job using all the technology that we had at our fingertips to try to work through the dimensions. We're really happy with the way it turned out. We had our first home run last night that would not have been a home run at Kauffman Stadium last year. We anticipate we'll see a lot more this season, but in the end, I still think it's going to be a very fair ballpark, and the look of it is very similar. I don't think you would really know the difference if you walked in Kauffman Stadium today and didn't know that we had changed the fences. I don't think you'd really notice it because aesthetically it looks the same.
I know it's hard to then though figure out exactly. You say there's more technology. Your R&D department, we're on it. Has that gotten better knowing how it's actually going to play? Or are you worried about there could be anything with wind dynamic or something like that? How much does technology help, and how much trepidation do you still have?
No, we really don't have any trepidation. We're very confident that where we ended up is going to be a good spot. We're not going to have regrets. But wind factor was a big part of it. We actually were the #1 ballpark affected by wind. We also had the greatest disparity in hot temperatures and cold temperatures, and that in April it plays a lot different than it does in August because of the humidity. So all of those things were taken into account, and that's why I think we're pretty confident with where our fences are going to play this year.